What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your good friend and host, Kory Willis. I hope you all are doing well on a Monday, getting ready for a brand new work week out there, guys. So, as always, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope the weekend was great to you. Hope you got a chance to, enjoy the nice weather, of course. I know we're having some really nice weather in the state of Texas, and I know you are as well, Chris, out there in Florida. So overall, everyone, hope you guys are doing well today. As always, we appreciate you guys' support with the show. You know where to find us. We're on many different streaming platforms out there, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms out there. So if you like what you hear from the show, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. It's definitely important for us. It helps us know what we're doing and how we can improve the show for the future for you all. So as always, guys, we very much appreciate you all's support with the show. As always, guys, you know who I'm with. I'm with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is. He is Chris Bolton. Chris, what's going on, my brother?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. I'm committed and locked in to continue doing this podcast with you. As a sign of my commitment, I'm here on this pod. Unlike others who may or may not attend practice or the spring game, but here at the Breakdown Sportscast, we are committed to giving you the college football news.
Yeah, look, are you implying to me, Chris, that a certain individual decided that he wanted to not lock in? Of course, I mean we've heard Naomi from WWE talking about locking in and everybody switching up on her. Are you implying that there's a certain individual in the world of college football that feels like he was also wrong?
Hey, look, it looks like we had a few people confirm that this may be the case. Shout out to Pete Thamel, breaking the news. But I'm not even implying. It is out here in the streets. It is known, Kory.
Yes, I mean, yeah, we got to give a shout out to a lot of individuals, of course. I mean, Pete Thamel, for one, he had his ear to the streets, for sure, this past week.
He was on top of this. I mean, I know you're about to go ahead and break it all down and give the people the spill of what we are over here discussing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a fluid situation, but it definitely did figure itself out very quickly. And folks, I guess we'll go ahead and get into one of the bigger news stories going on this offseason in college football. That is Nico Iamaleava. That guy, quarterback that was previously at the University of Tennessee, is not on the team anymore. It was announced like early Saturday morning, if I can remember, Chris, that he
right before the spring game, I want to say.
Yeah, right before the spring game, no longer with the team. Josh Heupel had a meeting with the team early Saturday morning and relayed the information to the guys that Nico would not be along the ride at Rocky Top anymore. He would not be there anymore, and noted apparently in his words, Chris, no one is bigger than the team. So definitely putting that foot down and saying that, hey, we're not going to allow one guy to hold up work here for another season at Tennessee. And now, my question is who do you turn to at quarterback? Somebody has to step up. Hopefully someone does step up. But this was monumental, Chris. And I say this is like the first shoe to drop at a program where a team, head coach Josh Heupel decides to move on from a star quarterback, a star name such as Nico Iamaleava. Um,
Hmm.
Chris, I'm going to leave the floor to you. What are your thoughts about this move? Was it the right move? What does this do for the future of college athletes such as college football? Trying to maneuver their ways and try to get a little bit more money out of some of these programs going forward. What are your thoughts?
Man, there's a lot to digest with this situation, Kory. On the field, off the field. Um, but in the grand, looking at it from the perspective of we had a starting quarterback for an SEC team, playoff team, another team looking, as to be a contender this year. Nico would have been entering his third year with the program because he was a red shirt his first year there and started last season as a red shirt freshman. Um, had an okay season, an average season, to be quite honest with you. He put up a lot of his touchdown stats in the 4 non-conference games. And when you look at what he did in the conference play, he was more of a game manager. And that's no knock to him. You are a freshman quarterback, first year as a starter. You're very young. So he's highly touted coming out of high school, 5-star prospect. But for you to be a game manager your first year, it's not a bad thing. The team won. But you were paid top 10 QB money. You're getting paid as if you are one of the very best in the nation. And to turn around after the season you had and to demand a raise from being paid in the was we don't know these numbers for certain, but what's been reported 2.5 mil in that range, that vicinity, Kory.
Was it just two?
Um,
Was it just 2.5? I thought I heard something on the range of 4 million. Maybe I had it wrong, but
no, I think he was demanding. Was he demanding 4 million? I'm pretty sure
I
that's what
think
it was.
I think he was demanding 4 million.
Yeah, so you're getting paid 2.5, and you turn around and want to get paid 4 million. And when Tennessee needed you the most, you barely cracked 100 passing yards against Ohio State in the playoffs. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, look, you got me there. Look, I can't yeah, I can't decipher that well enough for you to justify the means of opening the pocketbook.
I I understand that he has the right to do this. You do have the right. You can test the market. You can attempt to strong arm the university to paying you more, seeing what other guys are getting. But there comes a day and there comes a point, and I think Tennessee, whether they win or lose, however the season goes out, however their Josh Heupel's tenure continues as he's the head coach at Tennessee, this was a move that the program, based on how this situation has played out reportedly and what was going on behind the scenes, and how some of this information came across to Coach Heupel, I think this is a move that you had to make. You had to take a stand because let's just keep it a buck, Kory. I'm about to pull up the numbers. If you out here producing 201 passing yards per game, 19 passing touchdowns with a 70.5 QBR, and you're coming here to me asking for 4 million, and that's what you produced last season, you can go. I'm not giving you no more money. You're gonna take what you got, what we have already figured out as what the deal is now. You're gonna take that and like it. You're not about to strong arm me. No. No, Coach Heupel did right. Look, let's be real. This is a system, the veer and shoot system. Does it help to have an extremely talented quarterback? Yes. But this is a system designed to put defenses in stressful situations and allow you to have easy reads. And if you can make the throw, you don't have to be the very best, you don't have to have the best arm or be the most talented quarterback prospect. You can succeed in this system. And I'm pretty sure Coach Heupel understands that as well as the man who is the man behind this system and how Tennessee plays offense. So I understand where he's coming from. I'm sure they'll see what they can get out in the market in the portal. As you know, there will continue to be players who will enter, and I'm sure they'll make an addition or two. Maybe try to address the situation and see if they can get another starting guy, or they'll roll out there with the guy they have, who's Nico's backup. But you could not afford for the market to give him a raise after his performance last season. You're going to end up like how the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons are now, and how the Washington Commanders were, where you paying Kirk Cousins top 5 money, but Kirk Cousins ain't a top 5 QB.
No, you're right. I mean, yeah, I mean everything you laid out, Chris, is you're perfectly correct on this. Something needed to change, and you know, in the world of college football as we know it now, and I mean, you mentioned we both talked about this on previous shows, Chris. This is a new age in college football that is much harsher than the ones prior. Like something needs to give. There still needs to be a standard set in these programs to make sure that these guys are as successful as they can be. Something like this, when it literally only has to do with money, can definitely destroy that through time. It can definitely hurt the morale in the locker room going forward. So, shout out to Josh Heupel by looking at this situation, assessing it, and allowing Nico to go a different path. Like you said, I think Nico, just like any other college athlete, in terms of this standpoint, we're talking about college football, has that right to sell themselves in order to provide services for whichever team they're going for. He has that right just like any other player out there in college football. But when you're handicapping the team and you being the quarterback, it does create a situation that can get very murky. So Josh Heupel had to make that decision, and he made that decision.
No, you're so right.
Mm-hmm.
You're so right. I mean, let's just kind of look at it like this, Kory. In the pros, in NFL, there's a lot of times where guys are in training camp, and you have running backs who hold out. You have wide receivers, defensive players, DBs, corners. I mean, safeties, defensive linemen, whatever the case may be, who hold out and may not attend practice. But as the quarterback, how many times do you hear of the quarterback, despite no ongoing contract negotiations, he's still there? Quarterback shows up. And this is a reflection of how locked in are you, how bought in are you. Can you continue to come to the practice, participate in the spring game, be committed to Tennessee while whatever you got going on, let that be getting resolved. But when you decide not to attend, to no longer go to practice, if I'm Josh Heupel, I get where he's coming from. I'm like, hold on, you supposed to be locked in. and this is how you do us and your teammates, the guy's gonna be looking at us crazy if we don't have, like, you gotta choose. Am I choosing you or the team, the program? Because that's the kind of position you put the program in when you move like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you kind of, it's like becoming a doctor or a nurse. You're taking that oath to be, to be that leader. To be that beacon for people, and in this case, your team. Yeah, like Nico, he took an oath at being the quarterback of the Tennessee Volunteers. And
The
it's one
face of the
thing.
program.
Yeah, the face of the program. Apparently, he was supposed to be doing a first pitch at one of the Knoxville semi-pro
The-
baseball teams. That was
mhm,
canceled.
mhm.
you know, this guy was the man in that town. Not anymore. He's out of there. So yeah, no, you're right, Chris. That's kind of the price that you have to pay. When you do things like this, and with him being, at one point the guy, it was rested upon his shoulders to be at every practice, to be at every meeting, to be that guy, that leader, that's there to help make this team better. That's the reason why they recruited him. And Josh Heupel not seeing that definitely did handicap this team, because it's one thing to know that you're having these disputes about money, but it's another thing when you're handicapping the team where you're trying to get things done. Spring practice, very important,
Mhm.
a very important time of the season or the off season.
Mhm.
You're not there. That caused quite the concern. So yeah.
This, this, I think, like, you hinted on it earlier, Kory, in our discussion. There are a lot of things that we are experiencing now in college football that we haven't before, and this feels like Nico is, he's that first child. Like, let's just say Tennessee. This is their first time having a baby, and this is your first go through with raising a child. He's Tennessee's first baby. You know, you, we're learning, and he's learning. And I think if he can go back, and maybe we'll see how everything plays out. We'll see how it all plays out once it's all said and done. But this feels like a situation where it's brand new to all of us, and he's going to be the example that guys maybe 5, 10 years later will be able to learn from and understand how to move in this new college football landscape, based off of how things are playing out with him. And we'll see how situations play out with other guys. But he's that first big domino in as a teaching point for universities and how they may want, football programs and how they may want to handle things, and also players. Do you really want to sell yourself, or are you going to have a conversation with you and your team, your people, like, hey, I am getting 2 mil, or I'm making such and such amount. I'm at a good school. Is it worth me not going to practice to prove a point and do this, or should I continue to, go to practice and do such and such and try to work things out behind the scenes, or even just let it be, just let status quo? Do I even try to negotiate anymore? Just accept what I have, be grateful for that. We'll see how it all plays out, but this feels like this is just that learning situation that college football needed.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Chris. And it's going to be interesting to see, because this won't stop. This is just one instance of the new age known as the NIL era of college football.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will be interested, just like I know you will, on how other teams handle this. Will other teams, put their foot down and combat a lot of these players asking prices. And we don't want to like attack the players, of course, because like we did say, players do have a right to their NIL. It does, and I've seen people like Josh Pate kind of talk about this. Like it really comes down to some of these sports agents, these quote unquote sports agents that represent some of these guys. It's kind of like this attack on a lot of these programs and stuff through some of these individuals, for these players and stuff, and they're getting the cut out of a lot of this. So this is definitely a potential start in something that can happen going forward in college football when it pertains to keeping the team together. So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different angles to hit on this situation, Kory. So let's take it to the gridiron and talk about, want to talk about Tennessee first before we talk about Nico? Because there's two different, there's how does this impact Tennessee, and then also Nico's future and what he could do for another team. So let's talk about Tennessee, though. How do you feel this impacts Tennessee and their expectations for the season, 2025 season, and how will they be able to, bounce back and be able to, still do what they need to do and want to accomplish as a team and program after losing your highly touted, starting quarterback like this?
Yeah, so I'm looking right now through Go Vols 247. Shout out to the great people there. They do a lot of great work for the Tennessee Volunteers. For you Vols fans out there, just getting a general outlook on recruiting right now. So I'm really going back. I'm going to start at 2024, and I'm going to go forward and just kind of give you my thoughts real fast, Chris. So they finished number 13 in the recruiting rankings in 2024, and they had a really good class. Some of these players we saw last year. So great work at Tennessee by Josh Heupel. Overall ranking this past recruiting cycle, 2025 recruiting cycle, ranked number 11, was just one spot away, Chris, from breaking that top 10. And as of right now, they're ranked 15 for the 2026 class. We know that that's going to just increase over time just because Josh Heupel is an excellent recruiter. All I'm saying through all of this is I think they'll be fine. I think they have stockpiled enough talent to be very competitive in the SEC. I think their defense is still going to be pretty good, and I think that could be a driving force for them in trying to get back in that playoff spot. So I think overall they got a hefty amount of players, Chris, to still make it through, even without Nico being at the helm at quarterback. His backups, I can see. I think Jake Mertlinger from Savannah, Georgia, 6'3", 195 pounds. I'm sure he's packed on a little bit more weight and in the weight room a little bit more. But good size, really good size quarterback out there. With definitely a hefty arm down there in the state of Georgia. And then also they have another quarterback, George McIntyre. He's from Brentwood, Tennessee, went to Brentwood Academy, and he's almost 6'6", 190 pounds. So I think they got some players, some dogs down there in Rocky Top, Chris, that can definitely help them succeed on the gridiron this year. So they do have to put it together. Josh Heupel, this is going to be an interesting year for him. He has to put these things together with while not having a guy like Nico there. But maybe this is an opportunity for some of these guys to rise to the occasion, take not just one step but multiple steps up the ladder, and showcasing why they should be QB1 for the Tennessee Vols. So here's the hoping that they can put it all together and have a great season. So far that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Merklinger looks to be the guy as of right now if they were to play football today. And he's somebody who's like Nico, red-shirted, so he does have a year in the system under his belt. I'm curious. I haven't seen too much film on him, so I really don't know how to gauge what Tennessee's ceiling would be with him as the starter. But I feel confident in saying I think Tennessee would be whatever the baseline was with Nico at quarterback. I feel like that baseline would be matched with whoever they have as the starter. Tennessee didn't win last year because of Nico.
No.
He managed the games. Mm-hmm. Tennessee relied on his running attack and his top 10 in nationally ranked defense. And, with Nico as the QB, the ceiling for what Tennessee could be is extremely high because there is like I guess you would call a low light reel, a low light thread. There were plenty, and I mean plenty of throws last season that Nico, if he could have made those throws, games that Tennessee won by 7 points or 3 points would have been 20-plus point blowouts. I mean, in games they lost, they could have messed around and won because there were a lot of throws, Kory, and I know you're aware of this, that he just was 2 or 3 yards off on overthrows. I mean, 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown bombs right there, schemed up, and they just didn't complete them. And if he makes those throws, this team is arguably, I mean, they're right up there with the Ohio States. That was almost the difference in them being just a playoff team and a national championship contender was completing those passes, Kory.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I know you do as well, Chris. I think about that Arkansas game a lot. I mean, which was probably the start. It was the start of.
It was the start. They were 4-0 entering that game.
Yeah, of us asking ourselves like, hey, what is going on with Nico's decisions out there on the field? Like, what is he seeing that we're not seeing? And you look back at the tape, and it's kind of like he has happy feet. That was the beginning of us seeing Nico with happy feet just about every game or every other game. Something just never had clicked at times. I don't know if it was just the scheme or him being a little bit overzealous or not as confident as he should have been out there in the backfield. I mean, we saw it in real time, and we had those questions then, and now we hope he learned something out of it. But it definitely was something, a sight to see last season with Tennessee. So
yeah, it was a sight to see. The team could have been a really, I think, potentially a great team this year with him having another year under the belt. You expect him with his talent level to ascend, to continue to become a better quarterback, to be more consistent.
Hmm.
The talent's there. We saw him make some of those throws. We saw him complete some bombs.
Yeah.
We saw him make the right reads, throw some. I mean, he can throw the ball on a rope. Like, just the timing that he can have with some of his passes, it's incredible. But the consistency was not there, and that's something you expect with another offseason under the belt and another year more polished under in the system. Could have been a very special year. I mean, we were discussing him off of how he was playing in the non-con as a Heisman candidate,
Hmm.
as a Heisman hopeful.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to sing his praises and say that this year, despite his struggles last season, you can't deny the talent. Um, but man, now that he's gone, I think Tennessee will still be a very good team. Will that national championship ceiling be there? That's to be determined. I'm
Hmm.
not going to say no because I know Josh Heupel's a great coach.
Really good.
We know
Really
that
good
they have
head coach.
recruited very well. So let's give the next guy a chance to prove himself.
Hmm.
But I'm confident saying that they will still be very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, one thing I won't do, Chris, I won't count out Josh Heupel. I think this guy definitely brings something to the table in the SEC and um, at Tennessee. That's that's very special to college football, and I think he is a coach's coach. I think he wants to bring the best out of his players, and time will tell once we step out on the gridiron again this season. Will he have the the last laugh? I'd say in terms of making sure that this team is as competitive and making sure you're keeping the good times rolling down there in Rocky Top. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season.
It is. It is. And then we we look at what's been some of the news put out here. Um, I'm trying to see, man. It's hard to trust some of these reports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I wonder where Nico will wind up. That's the big thing. I wonder where he will wind up. What team is on his possible horizon? I've seen some reports that he's been in contact with a few different programs. But what are your thoughts on where Nico could wind up, and can he pick up a playbook? And after going from the veer and shoot offense, can he assimilate to another offense, another team so quickly, and have the kind of season with the pressure that will be on him that I'm sure he wants to have? Can he thrive at another school with this turnaround happening so quickly?
Well, I mean, I kind of want to go into the top three that we've heard. I mean, Oregon is one of
Mhm.
them. Colorado. I mean, maybe Dion has a game plan in place if they can get him in, which would be crazy. You already have Caden Salter and Julian Lewis, if I'm correct there. And then the third team is Ohio State. Defending national champions, Ohio State Buckeyes are potentially looking for his services. Those are just three teams, Chris. I'm sure that there are more. I am sure that there are more. But overall, can he gel with one of these teams or another potential team out there? I think he potentially can, because it's not that Nico is like a terrible talent out there on the field. He's an impeccable talent when he showcases. Can he be in the right place, the right home for him where he's motivated, where he can get proper coaching, where he can push himself, to be great. And, can he be in a proper offense that can showcase that? I think he was in a great place at Tennessee. But, ultimately, going forward, I think he definitely has an opportunity to still showcase that at his new home. Whoever that is, we will find out. But I think it's going to ultimately be up to him, and it's going to be up to the coach in making sure that he has everything that he needs to be successful. So
Yeah.
that's not just dealing with money. He's going to have to also have great weapons on the outside. Great receivers, a really good line. I think he did have a pretty good line at Tennessee. Although some games will probably make you question, did he have one? I think finally back to the Georgia game and the Ohio State game. I think he was getting lit up a lot in both of those games. So yeah, I think ultimately it's just going to come down to the right place for him that has all of the tools he needs to be successful, and he's going to have to apply that on his own in the meantime. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can take on that challenge, because the next coach is definitely going to challenge him. I don't think the kid gloves are off. We already saw how Josh Heupel had to deal with this situation, and coaches talk. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a challenge for him. But hopefully, he can definitely go out and do what a lot of coaches wanted him to do, and Josh Heupel wanted him to do had they got his services, and that's be dominant on the football field.
Yeah. I think if you go to an Ohio State, if that's where he winds up, or in Oregon, I mean, it's hard to find better situations to throw somebody in the mix and fire and see them, play well, play some good football with all the talent at those two programs. So we'll see where he ends up, and we'll see not only where he ends up. I'm curious what the price will be of where he ends up. Like, will this all be worth it at the end of the day for him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or is he just being mismanaged, seriously mismanaged?
Yeah. I said it earlier, Chris. I mean, in this new world of NIL now, it's not just the players, speaking up for themselves and showcasing their worth. That these guys got agents, and they range in multiple different ways of negotiating things nowadays. So, will it be all worth it? Time will tell. Depends on the school, depends on the coach, and it also depends on Nico. Will this all be worth it? Will the gamble of obtaining Nico Iamaleava's
Services.
Yeah, services. Will that be something to gamble on? We will find out.
We definitely will. We definitely will. And speaking, Kory, if of gambling on, just want to make sure we've covered all the bases. You feel like on this topic. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think this whole news story over the weekend and everything. I mean, it started at the top of the weekend, pretty much. Was It was eye opening. It was shocking to a lot of us. But it got handled in probably the only way that it could, and both parties parted ways, and they're looking for the next chapter for both parties. Both parties are looking at the next chapter of their lives now, and best of luck to Nico in wherever he goes. And best of luck to Josh Heupel in Tennessee. Like I said, they got a plethora of great talent, and this is going to be a challenge, for these players, but most importantly, for that quarterback room. So hopefully these guys can rise to the occasion and really lock in, and by late December, hopefully we'll get to see Tennessee in the playoff game, trying to go for that college football playoff trophy.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. We were talking about taking a gamble on Nico and what he can do for a team. Let's talk about taking a gamble in other ways, in the sense of who maybe a team, who are the teams to buy low on that we can maybe potentially look at as being playoff contenders. And in this week's episode, Kory, we recap the ACC playoff contenders, the teams that we see that, there's a couple that stand out, and there's a couple more that are low key and may be able to pop out and do something. I think we got some more solidified contenders out the Big Ten, since this is the conference that has produced the last two national champs. Mm-hmm. But there's also a couple of interesting teams, Kory, that can maybe make some noise and find themselves maybe having, quote unquote, that season, and be a team that can maybe get in the mix and make some noise.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a couple of teams, of course. I mean, of course, we can't rule out the soon-to-be defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think these guys are definitely, hoping to run things back, Chris. So, we can't count them out. But we just can't. I think Ryan Day got a new lease on life after this past season. With a championship, around his waist. So, hats off to them, and they're looking at potentially running it back.
We might see the best Ryan Day to date. He's not under all that pressure. I mean, there's still the pressure of being the man at Ohio State. You can go from being at the top to people being, mad at you very quickly if you are underperforming. But like you said, there is the pressure that he has gone through. He's seen it all. There's nothing that he will be faced with this season that he hasn't seen before. So,
right.
I'm very, very curious to see how the team and how he and his staff look and operate and manage things with now that you got the quote unquote monkey off your back, the proverbial monkey off your back, and now you can just go out here and just coach football, play football. Now that you got that championship that Ohio State has desperately been looking for. So Ohio State definitely is one. Oregon, Dan Lanning, they are right there in the mix as well, as not only a playoff contender, a team that should be in the playoff, national championship contender. Curious to see how things are with them having Dante Moore out there at quarterback now.
Mm-hmm. This is his time now. He sat on the bench. He had the notepad out there behind Dylan Gabriel, so he got a chance to see him out. and become a potential big star in the NFL. We'll see what happens in the NFL draft, Chris. But Dante Moore, was a really great talent at UCLA. Took his talents to Eugene, Oregon, and this is a big opportunity for him to showcase his skill set. So yeah, I'm definitely with you on what Dante Moore and what the Oregon Ducks can do this season.
Mm-hmm. I would be remiss, and I think we have to put some respect on Penn State as a playoff contender. They were a few plays away from being in the national championship game, Kory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's funny that we're laughing, but it's the truth, And they bring back Drew Allar, and they lose a lot, but you bring back your QB, so we have to mention them too.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, Chris. It's one thing of Penn State, making it close to the national championship. That really good game between Penn State and Notre Dame showcased a lot for James Franklin's squad. But you knew after that game, Drew Allar, look, this wasn't just like his one time like last hoorah ride with the Nittany Lions. He wanted more, and he's definitely going to come out with a big chip on his shoulder. If he already, he probably already has one right now.
Boy, he got a whole bag of Doritos on his shoulder.
Exactly. He got the chips on his shoulder. So yeah, and we saw it, Chris. We saw it after that game. He was devastated. He really felt like he should have had his team close to victory and going to a national championship. He thought that they had every right to be there. And at the end of the day, that didn't come into fruition. So it's it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Penn State does this season in terms of trying to get back to that spot. They got there this past season. Can they get back there? Yeah. I definitely think that they can, and I don't have their schedule right in front of me right now, but I would hope that they can definitely challenge themselves into making it back there, because that was a really great team. I know James Franklin is a very aggressive recruiter. He's going to get really good talent on both sides of the ball, and we're definitely going to see, can a guy like Drew Allar, can he make it back into the playoff conversation? So that's definitely going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. It is going to be interesting to see how things play out for Penn State this season. I look at those three teams, those three programs as the big three, that we can definitely lock in as those three. If there's three teams that are for sure in the playoff representing the Big Ten, you would look at those three programs as being the representatives, based off just recency bias and the infrastructure in place.
Right.
There are three more teams that are very interesting to me, and then I'll leave you with one last outside of that group as a wild card team. But there are three more that come to mind for me, Kory.
Okay.
First and foremost, got to mention Michigan.
Yeah.
Got to mention Michigan.
We got to mention them.
You get the number one player in the nation. Bryce Underwood is in town. Will he be the starter day one? We'll see. But
kind of has to be, right?
You pay that much
You don't
for him,
spend all that money, to just let him, sit beside the water cooler, right, Chris? I mean, what
and
would
if
you do
he
in that
is,
situation?
and if they aren't winning, somebody's going to make a call or two to influence the acceleration of his development as a starting quarterback at Michigan.
Hint, hint.
So, yeah. So, they Portnoy in the game will may have a call or two to make to try to go ahead and get him to start if they ain't winning, Kory.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right.
but seriously, Michigan, we know that the defense will be on point. There's a new offensive system in place. Like this is going to be a new look to Michigan's offense. Their recruiting classes have been money.
Yeah,
In this last one, money. You got 5-star offensive lineman, 5-star offensive tackle. Um, you got some receivers too. Uh, Michigan's looking to be in a good place. And if Bryce Underwood comes out here looking like the second coming of Vince Young, which is I'm not going to call and crown him Vince Young, but when you watch him play, it looks like he looks like a player that very, very similar in build and skill set to what Vince Young brought to the table. Will he live up to being a Vince Young? We will see. But his skill set is very reminiscent of a Vince Young. And if he's out here playing like Vince, and we know the defense Michigan will have, Michigan is a team that very well can bust through the door and force their way into the playoff, Kory.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think they got a lot of very young talent in the fold, Chris. But they also have a lot of good talent that just needs to be coached up and developed. And like you,
And they have a great staff too.
they got a really good staff. Once Sharon Moore knew that he had the position as the head coach of Michigan, he knew he had to up the ante, Chris. You don't get opportunities like that often to be the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, a storied program. So, all hands on deck. You want to be as competitive as possible and hang with the big dogs. You got the game every year against Ohio State. And not just that, this is the most competitive in the Big Ten that we've seen in quite some time when you added all of these Pac-12 teams into the fold. You got to come with it. So, no, I'm definitely with you, Chris. I think that this team has an opportunity, a golden opportunity to be very, very good, and potentially challenge a lot of teams in the Big Ten and try to get back in that playoff conversation.
Definitely, they to me could be what Tennessee was in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
You know how we were like, okay, Nico's first year starting, young team, very talented team. Josh Heupel's the head coach. A lot of really good things. The defense is going to be money. Like a lot of similar things here. Bryce Underwood, and even highly, more regarded, highly touted player than what Nico was coming out of high school, is what Bryce is. We know the defense will still be great. Could they be a year early? Because I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff. I feel confident saying the next season they will be a playoff team. But we can't rule out the possibility of this year. So that's all I wanted to say. So that's why I mentioned them. And then the next two, I think you're going to really like the next two teams, Kory.
Yeah, bring it on.
So, and it's so interesting too because now that I'm looking at this conference, the quarterback play in the Big Ten, man. They got some nice quarterback play in this conference.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I love it. I love the competitive.
I love it too. I love it too. Illinois.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I was going to mention them if you did not, Chris, as a dark horse into this. Thank you so much, sir, for mentioning the Fighting Illini.
We have to. We have to. The Fighting Illini. This is man. This team. They had a great season last year.
They did.
Luke Altmaier is back, and people, ladies and gentlemen, Luke Altmaier is one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football.
Hands down, he is really, really good. A Starkville high school product down there in Starkville, Mississippi. You know, could have been a guy at Mississippi State, possibly, or Ole Miss.
Was at Ole Miss?
yeah. I mean, yeah, he was at Ole Miss, and then elected to transfer, and now look at what he's doing. The guy's balling out. Can't say anything else.
He is. He's one of the ones. I expect him to be on the preseason all Big Ten, whether it's first team, second team, one of those teams as the preseason quarterback. He's going to be a preseason player of the year. Someone to look out for. And if Illinois has the season that Red Bielema, if they have the season that they think they will have, you could very well be seeing Luke Altmaier in the Heisman running. He's that guy. He can put up numbers, and this team, they play smart, sound football.
They do.
And they play hard-nosed football. They win tough games. If it's a close game, I'm putting my money on Illinois to find a way to win. That's just what they do. And so look out for them. Look out for them. This is let's keep it real, Kory. Like, there's a lot of talented QBs. There's some good QBs in this conference. But the big dogs have new players.
Yeah.
A lot of new faces under center. Ohio State, brand new QB. Unproven quarterback. Oregon, unproven quarterback. Penn State does have Drew Allar, but he can even throw the game away for you. Like, it happens. We saw it on the biggest stage. It literally happened.
Yeah.
Iowa, they've been looking for a quarterback forever. There's a lot of talent in this conference at the quarterback position, but there's a lot of unproven guys. And when you have a proven guy like a Luke Altmaier, and what this team having an established identity, all the makings are there for them to pop out and be that breakout team in a year where the big dogs are trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
So we have to throw them in the mix for y'all to be on the lookout for. Do not overlook Illinois.
Yeah. I think what we saw from them last year was definitely telling. And the last couple years, they've been knocking at people's doorsteps, demanding respect, Chris. I remember, what was it? The ReliaQuest Bowl, Mississippi State and Illinois. Mississippi State win that game. There was no Mike Leach. May he rest in peace.
And that was a tough, hard-fought game.
Tough, hard-nosed game. That was the point that I noticed that Brett Bielema had this Illinois team clocked in, ready to go, ready to fight with anybody and everybody. And, it definitely felt like, us on the other side, seeing Mississippi State over those years, not wanting to back down to even the toughest teams in college football. We would win, we would lose, but we would definitely see that fight. I saw that fight in Illinois, and ever since then, they've gained my respect. So I won't count Illinois out at all. Brett Bielema, he's doing some really good work up there in Champaign, Illinois.
He is. He is for sure. And then the last team I'm putting that tier, that mix. You're gonna love this one.
Yes.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Oh my gosh.
Look, you got Dylan Raiola, Diet Pat Mahomes coming back year 2 and seeing what he can do with this team. Nebraska's defense, this seems to be a running theme in the conference. Man, Nebraska's defense is tough. Had them in every game, essentially. This is one of the better defenses in the nation. Matt Rule has come in, and if there's one thing he's going to have is the defense will be on point. You got Raiola in. He was one of the big quarterback recruits in his class. You were able to get him to come to Nebraska instead of going to Georgia. If he is that guy that we think he is, and if he makes a leap this year, Kory, they're in the same position as Illinois.
Yeah.
in a conference full of unproven QBs. If Raiola steps up and is that guy, Nebraska, who's to say they don't make the playoff, Kory?
They possibly have an opportunity to do so. I mean, we saw them last year, Chris. I think they shocked a couple people by, putting that shellacking on Colorado that night, and then from there, they had that game against Illinois. Illinois ended up beating them that night, which was a very fun game. I think that was like a Thursday night game. Overall, you saw kind of like Illinois that fight in this team. You saw improvement. And
they were right there with the national champs.
Yeah, they were right
at
there.
Ohio State.
Yeah, they were right there. So, I definitely see a team that's on the up and up right now. Matt Rule has everything in order. You can see that he's the CEO of this program, of this team. And look, they got a great opportunity, Chris, to really showcase that they've improved from year to year. So here's to hoping that they can do that, and definitely increase those wins, and who knows, maybe we can see them around December.
Yeah. Yep. I'm right there with you. So that's another team be on the lookout for. I think those 3 programs, one of them very well may bust through, kick down the door and make a name for themselves and find themselves in the playoff. One of those 3 teams could be a breakout team. I feel really good about that. And then there's another team who I'm going to mention as the wild card, Kory.
All right. Who you got?
I want to put them in the same tier as those 3 because I'm not as certain on them. Mm-hmm. But if they do become one of those teams, I don't think we would be shocked. We might be surprised. But at the end of the day, it is Southern Cal. It is USC.
Okay.
There's a lot going on at USC. You're going to have a new QB, Jaden Iamaleava. He's going to be the new quarterback under Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's trying to put a reset on things and, what worked in the past. He understands it isn't going to work now. And if you're going to play football in the Big Ten, you have to have a defense. So we saw the improvements last year. The foundation was set with USC and its defense last year. I think they'll continue to build on that this year. And let's be honest. Say what you want about Lincoln Riley. He's a great offensive mind. If the defense continues to trend upward, I ain't got to know who's playing offense under Lincoln Riley. And I know it's going to get figured out.
Yeah.
That's a team to be on the lookout for. They can go 6-6. They can go 9-3, 10-2. Ain't no telling what's going to happen with USC this year, Kory. But if they mess around and be a team that's a contender, it wouldn't shock me.
No, it wouldn't shock me either. Of course, I mean, look, we've seen this team, have the ups and downs. Of course, we've seen it all, and I think honestly at this point, Chris, if you're Lincoln Riley, nothing surprises you at this point. If nothing surprises you, nothing surprises your fan base at this point. I think overall, this is going to be an interesting season. They're going to have to get some things figured out on offense, especially their offense. That's the drive force of this team. Yeah, I mean, you have an offensive coach in Lincoln Riley that wants to throw the football. He wants to be efficient at it, and he also wants to, put the ball on the ground and punish you with the rushing attack as well. So hopefully you can have a guy like Jaden Iamaleava to bring a little to this offense and see where it goes. So it's going to be interesting to see, do they have it all figured out, or is it just going to be more of the same? I saw a lot of USC fans that were very frustrated off of last season. So hopefully they can get things figured out, and this can be a different USC team. And if so, I think a lot of fans out there, a lot of Trojans fans should give kudos to a Lincoln Riley if he can get this done. They finally got a little taste of BigTen football, so hopefully they can get some things turned around that way that they can be more competitive in the league, because they
Exactly.
have to be.
Exactly. So we will see. We will see. I think that's why they're a wild card.
Yeah.
Because California's full, filled with talent. USC is still USC. They still have been able to recruit well, right. And it's a team that if it all comes together, hey, they can play with anybody. Can they win? We'll see. Will they be able to get the victory? We will see. But they can play with the best of them.
Yeah.
Gave Notre Dame a game last year. Penn State. I mean, they gave a lot of really, the higher top tier teams in college football. They gave them games. Yeah. Now, were they able to win them? No. But that tends to be what happens first before you make that leap. You don't just all of a sudden wake up and you're the best team in the conference. You go through those lumps. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Exactly.
What you think, partner? I think we covered the Big Ten pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I want to add two more teams real quick, Chris. Overall, I think some of the teams that we talked about are definitely on course of making those right decisions and being on schedule of being consistent in this league. But there's two teams that I want to kind of get your thoughts on. Number one, Illinois. Curt Cignetti had a great season last year.
Oh yeah, Indiana.
Yeah. Indiana with Curt Cignetti. Do they have an opportunity to be competitive again with another year under his belt? being the head coach at Indiana, because they had a really good year. It did get cut short. Notre Dame, thanks to Notre Dame. But what are your thoughts about this team overall? Do you think they can also be a dark horse in this? What are your thoughts?
They can be. They can be. I I'm going to be tuned in if I can live stream the spring game. Their spring game is Thursday.
I just saw that.
I want to get a look at this team and see how they are operating. But wherever Signetti has been, he's won and he's had really good offenses.
Yes.
So no, they do have a soft touch with the non-conference schedule this year to be able to get in the groove, get things rolling. Well, you play ODU, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. Then it gets real fast when you play Illinois.
Right.
And so I'm curious to see how this team is, man. They very well can be right back in the mix. Or maybe it was a one-hit wonder. We will find out very quickly in the BigTen Conference, because you go from Illinois to at Iowa, and whether Iowa has an offense or not, it's always hard to win at Iowa. And then you go to Eugene to play at Oregon, and those 3 games will give us our answers very quickly. But I'm not going to mark out Indiana. I'm not going to rule them out. You have to put respect on a team that came out of nowhere last year, had a great season, and their head coach is still there.
Yeah.
This isn't the Arizona situation where Arizona broke out and their coach leaves.
Yeah.
The CEO is still there. So
Yeah.
they definitely have a chance.
Nice. Yeah, I just had to get your thoughts about Indiana, just because they had that great season last year. Some people thought it was a fluke for them to be there. After losing against Ohio State, they had no business being a playoff team. But hey, last time I checked, losing one game doesn't rule you out completely. Kudos to Kirk Signetti last season. I mean, he's heading into his 3rd year now, so yeah, I mean, great job by him and his coaching staff by getting this team to be as competitive as they were last year. And yeah, it's gonna definitely be interesting to see if they can run this back. So I'm going to be interested to see what they do, Chris, and we'll definitely be following along with the spring game and just the team in general for this season coming up. So yeah, Indiana was one team. The last team that I wanted to mention, Chris, Minnesota. I love PJ Fleck. I love just everything that comes with PJ Fleck. The energy that he brings up with his teams. Minnesota, when you have Minnesota on your schedule, especially if it's like the middle of the season and stuff, I don't know what it is, they figure out ways to beat you. Can this Minnesota team be a really good Minnesota team coming this year? Are there some things that you can see on the horizon that can help them also try to be a dark horse in the Big Ten? What do you think about being competitive?
They can definitely be competitive, Kory. I mean, they started the season off last year with a heartbreaker to North Carolina that they lost, and they almost ruined Penn State's season. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
You lose by a point to Penn State. This team, they're pesky, man. I mean, you don't look at Minnesota and be like, oh, okay, man, we got to get ready for Minnesota. Nobody just takes Minnesota seriously, just to be honest with you. But they are a team to look out for, though. You're right. And the schedule, I'm looking at the schedule. You go to Cal,
in the third game of the season.
Right.
I think that's a really big game for them because if you win that game, despite the jet lag going on, all the way to California, you really set the tone to then you play Rutgers at home. You win that Rutgers game, and you're undefeated going to Ohio State. And like we said, Ohio State's a great program. We don't know if the guy for Ohio State at quarterback is going to play like the guy. So this is an opportunity for all the lower tier teams in the Big Ten to step up. And maybe this season is your season. And so they are a sneaky team. I mean, you can almost throw them in that tier with a Nebraska and an Illinois and a Michigan. Because this team they were 8-5 last season.
Yeah.
And two or three plays away from being 10-3. Having a 10-win season. Who's to say that couldn't happen this year? So,
right.
Hey, you're right. Look out for Minnesota. The Big Ten is deep. The Big Ten is deep, man.
Yeah, and they capped off victory against Virginia Tech in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, 24-10. So, I think Minnesota is not a team that should be taken lightly at all, Chris. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes out on them because, along with Indiana, I do think if we had to figure out another person that can make some noise in the Big Ten, it has to be Minnesota. Every year we've seen Minnesota give teams fits, and I don't think that's going to change because they got the coach that makes it happen. Like PJ Fleck is a very, very good football coach. He could be coaching anywhere right now, but he's coaching at Minnesota right now. And I know when he has the guys that he needs to win football games, he's going to lean on those guys to be as successful as they possibly can be. So, I'm not going to, back off my thoughts on Minnesota becoming a force in the Big Ten because I think they definitely can be.
You're right. I'm with you. So we will keep an eye out on them. I can't wait for the season, man. Can we just get to August, September, Kory?
Yeah, can we just fast forward? I mean, we waited long enough. Let's just get these spring games over and let's just do this all over again. I'm excited, man.
I know. Me too. But we got some good teams in the Big Ten, and we'll keep the previews going in the next episode. We'll stop by the Big 12 conference, America's conference, the most chaotic conference in college football.
Oh man, I think back. I think about the commercial that they have of the Big 12 conference is actually pretty cool. Where they talk about their 12 strong, 12 teams.
We might talk about the whole conference.
We might talk about the whole conference. Oh man, it's just because it's so. I mean, it's one thing of having Dion there, but man, that conference definitely brings the drama in college football.
Yes, it does. I mean,
Healthy
you could be
drama.
picked last place, and you'll mess around and have a season for the ages and be a 10-11 win team right there in the mix. It's crazy. It's crazy what goes on in the Big 12, man. So tune in for that one.
Yeah.
Because we'll have a lot to discuss with the Big 12 time.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to talk about that on our next episode. Can't wait to discuss that. it should be very interesting to see how all of those teams fare in terms of this college football playoff coming up this year for this coming season. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, Chris. Well, we always love doing this, Chris. Another great show. Of course, delving into the Big Ten, delving into the news down there in Rocky Top. And one other thing to pretty much leave off of, Chris, I did hear, and you probably heard too, that Florida quarterback DJ Lagway seems like he's doing a lot better right now. I heard Billy Napier talk about his status, said everything is going well in terms of his health and everything. So he's definitely all good to go for the spring and going forward in the summer. And hey, that's a big positive if you're down there in Gainesville and you want to know something about your star quarterback. So what are your thoughts about the update status on DJ Lagway?
My thoughts are, as I'm going on this, I'm looking up the over unders for team total wins, real quick, Kory, for college football, because let's look at this for Florida, the Florida Gators, over under 6.5.
Okay.
If DJ Lagway is healthy, and that roster that Florida has, Florida's one of, regardless of the schedule, they're one of the 20 best teams in the nation. You can even convince me. Now, we may take the time to sit down and do our way too early top 25. I think there's a case they are one of the 15 best teams in the nation. Florida will win at least 7 games next year, Kory, if DJ Lagway is healthy.
Okay. Hey.
I don't care how hard the schedule is. They will find a way to win at least 7 games next season if DJ Lagway is on that football field.
Hey, they definitely got a great opportunity. Got an interesting couple of games. Like this 3-game stretch between LSU, Miami, Texas, and then I guess you can add A&M. They got to go to LSU, Miami, and A&M. Texas is at home, so technically that's a 4-game stretch. It's gonna be interesting.
If you come out of that stretch 2-2,
not bad.
I think you're happy.
Yeah, not bad. Look, I'll take that. All right, I'll take that.
If you come out of that stretch 3-1, you might think we on the way to the playoffs.
Oh, look, hey, if you come out of that thing 3-1, you might as well book your playoff tickets. If that's the case.
Because that means you won at Miami, and you probably won at home against Texas.
Yeah.
I think you took care of business and protected home field against Texas.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
It is.
If you beat Arch and company coming to town.
Oh, man. That's a big win.
That game is going to be insane, boy. That's going to be the ESPN night game right there. No, the ABC game. That's going to be on the ABC. It might be you think it's going to be the ABC 3:30 game or the night game? They might put that one at night in the swamp.
They might put
Florida, Texas.
Yeah, I think you should put that game as a night game. I think it brings a
different feel to the swamp.
Feel to the swamp. Especially if you have a DJ Lagway that's 100%. He's playing lights out.
Lagway versus Arch. Oh boy.
Yeah,
I'm picturing my sliders and my wings already, Kory. I'm tuned in for that. I'm gonna have me a 6-pack on ice. It's going down.
Touche, my friend. Touche. Look, I would not knock you for that because that's one of those Saturdays that you dream of planning on. And I'm glad to know that you already got your pre-planned meal and everything. You know, you already know where you're gonna be at.
That's going to be a movie. Yes, sir. I'm going to be in my residence, the Bolton residence. I will be at home
Yes,
watching
sir.
that one.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
that's going to be a movie. That's going to be a great matchup. So,
It will.
man, yeah, Florida though. Florida, if Lagway is healthy, man, they will be talked about in the SEC playoff contender episode. Like, I mean, Florida's roster is legit.
Yeah, yeah. I think they figured some things out during recruiting. They got some great players that are coming in to the program, and keeping a guy like DJ Lagway there is definitely important for Billy Napier and just Florida in general. So hopefully that this is an opportunity for Florida to take that next step, to be very competitive, and shock some people potentially this season.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, sir.
We're definitely going to keep our eyes out on the Gators this coming season. So yeah, thought I had to add that in before we head out on today's show, Chris.
For sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, Chris, another great show, my brother. I always appreciate, having you here, and for us, talking about the crazy world known as college football. But before we get out of here, Chris, before I let you go, we got some outros. So let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Chris_Bolton _12. Man, it's a whole lot going down. We talking baseball, of course. While work that I do with MLB, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Talking NBA,
Yep.
And the Warriors stressing me out
Yep.
as we have to play in the play-in tournament. With the regular season wrapping up, of course, college football and the craziness that's going on with this Nico situation, and there'll be more situations that pop up throughout the off season.
Yeah. More things to stress us out.
Yeah. And then we got, of course, the NFL draft coming up, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And boxing is lit, wrestling is lit. We'll be texting next weekend, I'm sure, during Mania.
Yes, we are. I mean, this is Mania week. So, a lot of great news that's going to be coming out in the world of professional wrestling. Look, I saw The Rock wearing a New Japan Pro Wrestling shirt, Chris. I don't know what the world is going on. But I know that Tony Khan probably ain't too happy about it. That's all I got to say.
Right. You ain't lying about that. So it's a whole lot going down. So this is a great time to be a sports fan. So just follow me on X to get the scoop, to get my thoughts on everything that's going on.
Nice. Yeah, folks. So definitely follow Chris on there. Definitely great to follow up with in terms of all of your sports news out there. So definitely follow him on there. You can follow me, guys, on X as well at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking college sports, of course. We just had the Final Four for both men's and women's basketball. It was great tournaments for both. Thought South Carolina had an opportunity, Dawn Staley and her squad, to be national champions, but Gino keeps bringing out those bigs out there, Chris. So what can you do? What can you do? But
oh my goodness!
Look, they're menacing, man. They're menacing. That's what UConn does to you. But yeah, folks, definitely follow me on there. I'm talking, professional and college sports, and also professional wrestling as well. So definitely follow me on there, guys. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening to the show. Like I always say, if you want to follow the show, please do so. It's definitely important for Chris and I. It helps us know what we're doing and how we can improve this show for the future for you all. So, as always, we appreciate you guys' support with the show. And yeah, we'll definitely be back probably in a couple weeks. We'll see how everything goes, of course, in terms of news. So be sure to keep it locked here. But until next time, guys, I'm Kory Willis. He's Chris Bolton. You are listening to the Breakdown Sportscast. We will chat with y'all later. Peace.
Peace.